Hello. Looking today at Soundgarden album Badmotorfinger from 1991. I was just reading that this, Nevermind, 10, and Blood Sugar Sex Magic were all released within like 6 weeks of each other in 1991. Pretty amazing. And there was a bunch of other albums released that year as well. 1991 was a pretty huge year for music. So this was, I guess, their breakthrough to an extent. It didn't break through as much as Super Unknown did, but was um it was still relatively big, and it kind of got them into the mainstream to an extent which they could kind of trade on, I guess, to get to the next stage, which they did with Super Unknown. So it's their third album, Ultra Mega OK, Louder Than Love, and then this. And you can you can really hear a leap in in every way: songwriting ability, musicianship, just in every aspect, from going from those first two albums to this one. Those first two albums have got some good songs on them, Ultra Mega OK and Loud and Love, but I always felt they sounded a little bit, I don't know, amateur maybe. Um, Certainly not the same band that would go on to make Badmotorfinger, Super Unknown, and Down on the Upside. I'm not saying those two are the first two are bad albums by any stretch, but it's just they really did make a huge leap going from those to this one. So this particular copy I picked up for 50 cents at a little Red Cross shop about a year and a half ago, I think. I've owned this for 3 or 4 times. The first time I ever bought this, when I was a teenager, I bought it on cassette tape. And then cassette tapes went the way of the dodo, although they've come back, haven't they? I'm noticing a lot of bands are releasing things on cassette tape recently. But I bought it on CD two other times after that. One of those times was also secondhand, but this will be the fourth copy of the album I've owned. And yes, this is a secondhand copy. Like I said, 50 cents. It's what you would imagine for an album of this vintage. I would assume this was um, from the early 90s. I was just also saying that this re-entered when this was released in '91. It did well on the charts, mostly in 1992 in the US and Europe. I think it got to number 38 on the Billboard charts, 39 or something. Well, it re-entered the charts in New Zealand in 1994. I guess upon the release of Super Unknown and the popularity of that, this album went back into the charts. As often happens when a band kind of breaks through in a big way, their back catalogue gets some sales as well, incidentally. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure exactly what year this would have been produced and issued, but I would say somewhere between 1991 and 1994. You can see the plastic's quite scratched. I've talked before about this early plastic that they used with production of CDs in the 80s and early 90s, which tends to get very smoky, almost kind of like not dirty, but kind of like a veneer of cloud on it. And it's not just the scratches. You can see a lot of scratches there on the plastic case. Black edging. The CD itself, I've never actually looked at it. It plays fine because I've played it many, many times. And there are a few scratches, aren't there? You can see them there around the edges, but jeez, man. But it's always seemed to play fine for me. So there are the lads. Ben Shepherd, this is his first album with Soundgarden. So they had a few bassists. They had Hiro Yamamoto, which I think he was with them for both Louder Than Love and Ultra Mega OK. And then I think he chose to leave himself. He kind of didn't feel the music thing was going to be a good plan long term. I think he went back to university, which I'm not sure if he regretted that. But then they had Jason Everman for a short period. Also, also a member of Nirvana for a very short period. I think as a rhythm guitarist in Nirvana. So that's kind of a claim to fame, isn't it? A member of both Soundgarden and Nirvana, but never actually played on any of their albums. He's on the front cover of Bleach, the Nirvana album Bleach. In that photo, it's kind of like a negative exposure, isn't it? It's like, well, anyway, apparently he's on that. You can't really tell because it's all just hair flailing about, but apparently Jason Everman is on that photo, and he also paid for the recordings of Bleach. But then he went on to join the army. Anyway, so excuse me for clearing my throat. Ben Shepherd, Matt Cameron, drummer, now in Pearl Jam, Chris Cornell, and Kim Thale. Just pretty much lyrics and some liner notes, thank yous and whatnot. So when Susan Silva was their manager at this time, Chris Cornell's wife, or ex-wife, they did get a divorce eventually, and it was produced by Terry Date. Now I was talking about Terry Date when I was talking about Pantera last week. And I was talking about how there's something about Terry Date's production that some of his production work I don't like it. I don't know enough about music theory and production and stuff like that to be able to put my finger on exactly what it is. And it's not present on all the albums he's produced. But I feel some of the stuff he did with Pantera, the early stuff he did with Deftones, and to an extent this album, I wouldn't say fully, I wouldn't say that the production has as much as an effect on my enjoyment of this as some of those other ones I just named, but there's like a thinness. But yeah, now I think about it, maybe that's not the right word. But anyway, Terry Date did produce it. So what do we got? We got Rusty Cage, Outshined, 2 singles. Rusty Cage, Johnny Cash did a cover of that. Rusty Cage has always been a song I've never really liked. And it's not a bad song or anything like that. It's just, as far as Soundgarden goes, it's just not a song that I really ever like. And I usually would skip it. If I put the CD on, I'd skip straight to Outshine. Outshine, yeah, it was a pretty good single. Excuse me. Slaves and Bulldozers. That's a pretty great song. The last song that Soundgarden ever played in their last concert before Chris Cornell died was Slaves and Bulldozers. Jesus Christ Pose, another single. I like the starting of that. It starts off with the drum and the bass, and then that guitar. Face Pollution. Somewhere. Now, apparently Somewhere is a Ben Shepherd song, both lyrics and music. And that's something that Ben Shepherd brought to the band. And you notice that on the albums after this as well. He always had some songwriting credits as well as some lyric credits as well. And his songs were quite left field. I wouldn't say Somewhere is particularly left field, but I think he wrote half on Super Unknown. I'm pretty sure it was him. So if you've ever heard that song, you might know what I'm talking about. How it's a little bit out of kind of a bit different for Soundgarden and a kind of original. But yeah. What else we got? Searching with My Good Eye Closed. When I saw that, I seen them twice in concert in 97, very, very early 1997, January 97, on the Down the Outside tour, and 2012, they played here at a music festival, kind of for their reunion tour, I guess, or maybe it was King Animal tour. I don't know if King Animal had been released yet. But anyway, they opened up that second show in 2012 with Searching with My Good Eye Closed. Room 1,000 Years Wide, one of my favorite songs on the album. That is a Kim Thayil song. I think both lyrics and, music and lyrics. He wrote both of them. And it's, I read the music is Matt Cameron. The lyrics are Kim Thayil. Sorry, so it's a Matt Cameron song with lyrics by Kim Thayil. I read a synopsis once, on those sites with the lyrics of songs, and people like fans offer their interpretation, and quite a few people interpreted this song as being about Satan, not a Satanist song or praising Satan or anything like that, but just kind of not even describing him, just singing of him, I guess, maybe. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but that's what I've heard. Mind Riot is a great song. Drawing Flies, that's another Matt Cameron song. Holy Water, New Damage is probably my other. I'd say, yeah. Actually, it's hard. New Damage, Slaves and Bulldozers, and Room 1,000 Years Wide made my 3 favorite songs on this album. So it's a great album. For me, it's a 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. Whereas Super Unknown is an unequivocal 5 out of 5. Classic. This one, I think, is a step below. Not everyone agrees with that. A lot of people say that this is as good, or if not better. They think that some of the aspects of Super Unknown were too radio friendly or too straightforward. Yeah. So it's a great album. And like I said, really a quantum leap. Is that a word, or is that just the TV show now? I don't know. A quantum leap from their previous albums, Louder Than Love, to this. You can really hear. It sounds like going from a part-time amateur band to a full-time professional rock and roll band. Yeah. So it's kind of its place in that discussion of grunge, early grunge, or the birth of grunge, even though grunge was born a lot before that, if you want to name it grunge, but in the late 80s. But that year, 1991, what do they call it, the year punk broke. So many, like I just said before, Nevermind, 10, I think was Facelift 1991? Was that 1990, I think, wasn't it? But around that year, so many great albums. Yeah, just it has its place within that history, as pushing that kind of music into the mainstream, and then kind of taking it up to another level with the stuff they did a few years after this. Anyway, that's my view and talk about this 50-cent CD that I own, Soundgarden Super Unknown. I also heard that this used to be green. It's kind of like a purpley grey black, but apparently it was green. I've seen it green. I think Matt Cameron posted it on Instagram, and apparently when it was green, it just looked awful, like someone had vomited on the front cover. So they changed it to that kind of purpley color. Actually, it might have been that color inside the. Is there a green in here somewhere? Oh, there's not. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.